The road west stretched endlessly before them, winding through forests, valleys, and rising terrain that hinted at the highlands beyond. At the front of a small mounted group rode Hernán Cortés. Seated behind him on the same horse, steady and composed despite the movement beneath them, was La Malinche. The rhythm of hooves against the earth blended with the distant sounds of marching men, Spanish soldiers, indigenous allies, and the growing force that followed Cortés deeper into unfamiliar territory. They rode in silence at first. Then Cortés spoke. "Each step forward," he said, his voice thoughtful, "brings us closer to something none of us truly understands." La Malinche tilted her head slightly. "The great city," she said. "Tenochtitlan." "Yes," Cortés replied, "and the man who rules it, Montezuma." "This is not simply a journey," Cortés continued. "It is a test of faith, of will, of purpose." La Malinche listened carefully. "And you believe you will succeed?" she asked. Cortés gave a faint smile. "I do not ride this far to fail." La Malinche lowered her gaze briefly before speaking again. "You have already done what many thought impossible," she said. "You came to this land, and you did not fall." "You freed me from the Mayans who held me," she added, "from a life that had no future." Cortés did not respond immediately. Instead, he listened. "You have defeated those who opposed you," she continued, "time and time again." She leaned slightly forward. "It is clear to me that your victories are not by chance." Cortés glanced back at her. "No?" She shook her head. "No," she said. "You are guided." "By God." The words lingered. Cortés's expression shifted, subtly but noticeably. "You believe that?" he asked. "I do," she replied, "and I believe your victories will continue." Her voice carried quiet certainty. "Because what you are doing, it is larger than conquest." She let the thought settle. "It is purpose." Cortés turned his gaze forward again, the road stretching ahead. "And what of the people we go to meet?" he asked. "The Aztecs," La Malinche replied. Her tone changed, not dramatically, but enough. "They are not like the Mayans," she said. "How so?" "They are more powerful," she answered, "more organized, more disciplined, and more devoted." "To their gods?" Cortés asked. "Yes," she said. There was something colder in her voice now. "They build great temples," she continued. "They gather thousands to witness rituals." Cortés listened closely. "And in those rituals," she said, "they sacrifice men." The words landed without embellishment. "Not a few," she added. "Many." She turned her gaze toward the horizon. "They believe it sustains their world." Cortés's jaw tightened slightly. "And you believe they would abandon this?" he asked. "For Christ?" La Malinche shook her head. "No," she said, "not easily." Her voice was certain. "They do not see themselves as wrong. They will their actions as necessary, sacrifice to appease the gods." The conversation shifted. Cortés lowered his voice slightly. "And tell me," he said, "do we have enough?" La Malinche looked at him. "Enough," she repeated. "Men," he clarified, "resources, strength." He glanced briefly at the forces behind them. "To persuade them," he said, "to show them the truth." Another pause. "To bring them under the authority of Charles V and the Spanish crown." La Malinche did not answer immediately. Instead, she thought, carefully. Then, "There are ways to strengthen your position," she said. Cortés listened. "First," she began, "you must continue what you have already started." "Allies," he nodded slightly. "Yes." "There is one group above all others," she said, "one that hates the Aztecs more than any." Cortés's interest sharpened. "Who?" "Tlaxcala," she said, "their greatest enemy." She continued, "They have resisted Aztec rule for generations. They have suffered under their pressure." A pause. "If you align with them, you gain more than soldiers." "What do I gain?" Cortés asked. "Knowledge," she replied, "strength, legitimacy." She looked at him directly. "And numbers." Cortés nodded slowly. "And the second?" La Malinche's gaze shifted slightly. "To a city," she said. "Cholula." Her voice was even. "It lies along our path." "Why there?" Cortés asked. "It is sacred," she said, "respected." "And central," she continued. "You can resupply there, rest your men, continue your diplomatic efforts." Her tone remained composed. "And observe." Cortés considered this, then nodded. "Very well," he said. "Cholula will be our next stop." Weeks passed. The journey was not without resistance. In early September of 1519, Cortés's efforts to secure an alliance with Tlaxcala failed. At first, the Tlaxcalans did not trust him. They did not welcome him. They attacked. For 3 days, from September 2nd to the 5th, the battles raged. The Spanish forces were surrounded, pressed on all sides by determined warriors who knew the terrain and fought with relentless intensity. At one point, it seemed the expedition might end there. But Cortés did not retreat. Instead, he adapted. He released prisoners, sent messages, offered peace. And, slowly, the tide shifted. Leaders like Xicotencatl the Elder and Maxxicatzin began to see the situation differently. These newcomers were not just invaders. They were enemies of Montezuma and the Aztecs, and that made them useful. Eventually, even Xicotencatl the Younger relented. An alliance was formed, not out of trust, but necessity. By October, Cortés and his now expanded force arrived at Cholula. There was no resistance, no immediate hostility, but something was wrong. The leaders did not greet them. Food and supplies were withheld, and whispers began to spread. The Tlaxcalans warned Cortés. Fortifications were being built. Something was coming. Then La Malinche brought him news. After speaking with a local woman, the wife of a Cholulan noble, she revealed what she had learned. A plan, an ambush, an attack in the night. Cortés did not know if it was true, but he did not wait to find out. He acted first. He summoned the leaders of Cholula to the main temple, accused them of treachery and a pending attack against him and his men. They denied it, partially. Claimed they had been ordered by Montezuma, but had not followed through. It did not matter. The decision had already been made. On Cortez's command, the Spanish seized the nobles, executed them, and then the violence spread. In a matter of hours, thousands were killed. The city burned. Temples, homes, entire districts consumed by fire. The massacre was swift, brutal, and intentional. Cortez later justified it. In letters to his king, he claimed it was necessary, a warning, a message. And it worked. The shock of what happened in Cholula rippled outward. Other cities heard the stories, and they listened, more carefully now. When Cortez spoke of alliance, they considered it. When he spoke of resistance, they remembered Cholula. Cortez sent word to Montezuma, a message. Cholula had betrayed him, he said, and had been punished. Montezuma responded carefully. He blamed local commanders, distanced himself. But beneath that, there was something else. Realization. The gifts had not worked. The delays were now futile. Nothing had stopped Cortez from advancing, and so he changed course. He extended an invitation to Tenochtitlan. The road ahead was now clear. But it was no longer just a journey, it was an approach toward a meeting that would change everything. For Cortez, for Montezuma, for the empire and the world itself. And riding at the center of it all, still watching, still listening, still guiding, was La Malinche.